Hi, good evening everyone. My name is Sarah Jane and I'll be running you through a bedtime yoga series. This is very good for unwinding from our day, relaxing the head, neck, and shoulder region specifically, which a lot of us use in computer work. A lot of us are doing that nowadays. Even if you do physical work, this is a really great way to reset the nervous system and calm down the body and prepare for sleep. And so we'll begin in seated kneeling pose. And if you have any issues with your knees, it is advisable to place a blanket underneath the knees. So if you need a modification, your knees are very painful, you can place a blanket underneath the knees as such, folded here, or if it's too much for the ankles and the buttocks, not feel, you can place a blanket in between there, which I think feels pretty nice. So the big toe mounds, you want them to be together. Knees are going to come out to the sides, just fully sitting back into a relaxing pose. Nice, tall, long, straight spine. Nice big inhale. Exhale. Flow through a few rounds of breath here. Maybe closing the eyes, silencing thoughts, really allowing yourself to just sink into a restful space. On the next inhale, we'll prepare to move forward. So we're going to exhale and reach the fingertips forward in front of us for Bhaktasana, full active child's pose. You want to stretch those shoulder blades wide, open up the upper back. Bring the hips open as much as we can and drop the head and neck in a very relaxing manner, placing the forehead directly down onto the mat and letting the arms relax. And if placing the head is not comfortable for you, I again suggest either a yoga block or a blanket. Blankets are a great tool for everyone, so I think you should keep it in your yoga kit. Placing the head down, reaching arms either over the blanket or around, whatever you're finding is more comfortable for the shoulders. Another version of active child's pose or child's pose is restful child's pose, Balasana. If your shoulders just aren't having it yet, can't open up to that degree yet, we're going to come back and rest them down like this. You'll feel a lot of release and pressure release in the low back. Remain here in either position for a couple rounds of breath. Each inhale, think about bringing in nice, fresh, beautiful oxygen, and on the exhale, release old, stagnant air. Maybe reaching the fingertips a little bit further with each exhale. We're going to remove a blanket if we have it. And on our next inhale, we're going to begin to walk our hands to the right side. And then you'll stop wherever your body is pretty much telling you, oh, I can't go, a little bit farther. We don't want to be in pain. You want to be at a point that feels a little bit of strenuous work without being too painful. We want to extend the left arm a little bit farther than the right. That's really going to open up the side body here. You're going to feel the muscles get a nice stretch in the shoulders and upper back. And again, breathe into any tight spaces. And on the exhale, let go and release. Let your breath be audible to yourself. Next inhale, walk the hands back to center. And on the exhale, we're going to go ahead and begin to walk them to the other side, or in this case, the left side. We're going to reach our right arm a little farther than the left this time. Feeling full extension, that side body. Letting yourself exhale with a sigh if need be to let out things from the day. Next inhale, let's walk the hands back to center. Taking a couple breaths here to reset back to center. And then slowly walking the hands in towards the body. I like to make sure that when you're moving in any position in yoga, let's do this slowly and mindfully. So we want to move the hands in, and then the lower back, and then the mid back and upper back. And as you see, I want you to have your head and neck be the last things that you release up so that everything is coming up in a straight alignment. From here, we're going to go ahead and stretch the wrists out a little bit. Maybe massage your own hands and wrists. Just really give yourself a nice full warm up. Open up the shoulders. Swing the arms back and forth as we're preparing to move into tabletop. So from here, we want to get some movement in those legs. Come up, maybe move the legs around, shift them a little bit. And placing the hands back down. Tabletop position. You want to spread the fingertips wide. You want to be about 6 to 12 inches apart in the hands, looking back at the knees and the legs, same thing. You do want to take a look back. You want to make sure your hips aren't shifting to either side and that they're looking forward. Making sure wrist joints are stacked under shoulders. Really push the arms down into the floor below you, and also the tops of the feet and the shins should be pressing actively into the ground. Trying to then focus on our back. Try to get as straight a back as possible. That's going to vary with where we are in our day, in our yoga practice, and that's okay. Making sure to keep the head and neck in alignment with the back as well, though. From here, we're going to work on a pose called Thread the Needle, in which we are going to fully relax and open our shoulder blades. So we're going to snake our left hand under our right. Make sure that your right hand is really rooted firmly. So we're going to do a one-arm balance there briefly. And you want to bend that arm as we bring the left arm down, palms up to the sky. Then you want the shoulder to relax down. Really support yourself in this. Cheek drops to the ground, and then once you're there, go ahead and extend that right arm long and straight. Inhale strongly, exhale, feel the release of breath in the entire body. Couple rounds of breath here. This is a beautiful, restful pose that brings out our shoulders. Our whole back is twisted a little bit. Hips are open. It kind of just really releases a lot of tension that we've held throughout the day. Next inhale, let's walk that front hand forward and prepare to really use it strongly, pushing strongly in first before we snake our hand back out and come back up to tabletop. And of course, we'll do the same thing on the other side. So make sure you're firmly rooted and you take your time in this, right? We never want to rush from position to position. You feel balanced and centered where we are. And then once you feel that, root firmly into that left arm again, snaking the right underneath, palm to the sky, shoulder comes down, cheek comes down. Maybe here's some shoulder crunching like you just did on mine. Straighten the left arm long in front. Inhale and exhale as deeply as your body will allow right now. You want to take a round of 3 to 10 long breaths, whatever you think you need here. from there. Again, next inhale, let's slowly bring that hand back into center, gathering a nice firm palm on the ground before we unwind, bringing it back to tabletop for one moment, and then we want to take a nice dip around with the hips either way, both ways, really rolling everything out, maybe rolling the wrists out as well, throwing your own flow into it. Remember, you're doing this at home, nobody's watching you. Go ahead and go with what you feel. From here, we're going to cross the ankles back behind us and just slowly sit back into simple seated Sukhasana pose. And so in Sukhasana pose, you can just cross the ankles underneath, one stacked on top of the other, or if that's a little limiting, you can drop one leg in front of the other. For some people's hip space, that does allow a little bit more flexibility. And some people, if they're into a beyond beginner stage, you may have a bit more flexibility and you could bring one foot up on top of the other. So the many different ways to do this. I'm just gonna sit in a very simple cross-legged pose. And we want to focus again on getting those hips aligned back down with the earth. Just coming back now to a center of stillness, feeling the effects of the couple poses that we just allowed ourselves to have. Maybe just placing the hands gently on the knees. This allows for an inward reflection, and especially right before bedtime, that can be a really good place to sort of just allow ourselves that time of transition. Sometimes we're looking at our phones or we're doing all these things that don't shut down the mind. It's a very chaotic activity. So I encourage you to take a few minutes of this sort of bedtime yoga, and it will really calm and relax the nervous system. So you just quietly close your eyes. Maybe inhale into the heart space, right at the center of the chest. And give yourself some love and appreciation for taking the time to learn something new. And I hope that you'll carry this practice forward with you. Thank you for joining me tonight. And from everyone at Prescott Mind Body Wellness,